sometimes we're swapping between RV and interstitial impressions. So even though you as a player requested to watch an ad for an RV, we might be showing you an interstitial ad, which might feel to you like a faster RV experience in a way, the 30 seconds timer that you mentioned before, because the first impression of interstitial sometimes generates better performance. So we have some sophisticated models behind the scenes that are trying to optimize towards the higher payer, either if it will be an interstitial ad or an RV ad, but for the placement that is RV in the game. And that helps us squeeze the best ECPMs out of every impression, let's say.
It's 4 a.m. and we're rolling the dice. Mate drops, knowledge made of golden eyes. Felix with ads making those coins rise. Jack up designs, worlds chasing the sky. We're the 2.5 gamers, the midnight crew. Talking UA adverts and game design too. Mate, Felix, Shaka, bringing the insight. We're rocking those vibes till the early daylight. Mate, UA, master eyes on the prize. Tracking data through the cyberspace skies. Felix stacks dollars like a wizard in disguise. Jacob's crafting realms lift us to the highs. 2.5 gamers talking smack. Slow hockey stick, got your back. Ads are beautiful, they light the way. Click it fast, don't delay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We have a very special episode because
This
Felix
is special.
says this is very special, but we always have a special. This is a very, very special episode. We are going to be like ultra special anytime soon. But before we start, my name is Matej Lančarič.
I'm Felix Broberg.
And I'm Jakub Remjar.
And we are your hosts.
Are your hosts.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
sleeping at the wheel.
next time. Maybe next time. And why is this special? Because we're talking about Screwmaster 3D, and we have Guy and Samantha from the team. So it's a live review. Welcome, guys. Can you
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself and the company and the game and everything?
Samuel first.
Ladies first, yes.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Samantha. I've been working in gaming in the last 7 years, plus minus, in Supersonic since the start of it. Currently, I'm leading the growth and creative activities in Supersonic, and it's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
And I'm Guy. I'm leading the new games unit in Supersonic. We are working with various studios all over the world, from ideation all the way to global launch.
Awesome. And we are here to talk about Screwmaster 3D and we started this journey of talking about hybrid casual a long time ago. So finally we have you guys here as well, so we can talk about all the fun regarding the Screwmaster 3D, because we read interesting things about retention, profile, and whatever else that you were able to share, and how you were actually working with Chinese developers and how you are translating WeChat mini games towards the West. So let's start with our usual approach, where Jakub opens the emulator or go over the game, and then we kind of ask questions. We have a lot of questions, loads of them. And then also, look, we are going to talk about a few things, numbers, and then you correct us if we are in kind of the right.
If we're wrong, we like hearing about it.
Yeah, exactly. If you're right, just blink twice. Maybe we can talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk over the game as usual. So this is, I think, the 4th or 5th kind of game from the Screw series that we're doing. Or
It's growing like crazy.
Yeah, the whole physics genre, which kind of fits our unique puzzlers prediction that's supposed to be, especially this one, because this is, again, if I understand, it's still deterministic puzzler, meaning that the levels are still the same in between the rounds. Similarly, like Color Block Jam is currently killing it on the other Lego front, which is not really opposed, but yeah, the Screw category, let's say, is growing very, very fast. So the game itself is, if we start here, following on the Screw Jam thing, basically, which was these plates that you had to kind of unscrew, and there was pretty much two-dimensional gameplay really to it. And now we are moving more towards 3D. Same with Screwdom, and Screwmaster is pretty much going for that. I guess that also helps with UA because these shapes are, as you see here, quite familiar. It's not really just like blades here and there. And we also have the usual tension mechanic, which is coming from the Bass Gem and all these other Rolik kind of titles where there's this kind of bench setup where you cannot go over your bench, otherwise you lose, and you have predefined slots that you can or that you need to populate. And these kind of, as we, let's say, we finish this one, a new one comes in, and then it kind of continues there. The model itself is very kind of zoomable and elastic. These levels take much longer time, as we have said before. This is not your typical 2 to 3 minute puzzle. These can take sometimes like 10 to 15 minutes. I've seen worse. So that's there. And yeah, it's very engaging because, again, it's physics. So once we start to actually unfold this thing, it's going to fall apart and then reveal more of these blocks as you progress and eat it like an onion from outside to the inside, which then comes the hard part where decisions really need to be made, where I'm gonna run my bench full. The tension for these two ad placements is gonna be very, very strong because suddenly there's literally no moves for me to move forward other than either using boosters or watching the ad placements increasing these things. And yep, that's it pretty much. I think very, very light meta for now. Like I just saw a few events yet. That's one of my questions later down the line, but yeah, that's it. Can you give us a little bit more, like your view, Guy? I guess I keep playing because I can't keep playing and talking at the same time.
Yeah, it's very hard to play and talk. Before you start again, we started with first Screw 3D whatever game review some time ago, and then someone from China actually reached out, like said,
Screwgem.
Was Screwgem? Okay, it was, and there's like this is a very big hit anyway in China already, and this is also something that you've done. So can you talk a little bit about like how did you adapt this for global markets? Like what was the actual process coming from when? Like how did you come up from like WeChat and like transfer this into West?
So I will start. We are always on our way of exploring new markets, and we focus, pay a lot of attention on WeChat to see what works well. We follow the top charts, what's popular mechanics. As you said, this screw mechanic is very popular in the last year. We see it not only in China, by the way, in Vietnam as well, super popular. And we are tracking the retention of those games, and we try to find this, we call it juice. I don't know how popular is this term, but to look for this juicy part in the game, of course, supporting by the data once we see it. So we are getting deeper to understand what they miss or what can we do better with this game. And that's what makes us, in this case, to move forward with EO Games, our partner, our Chinese partner. In this case, it was that simple. The retention was amazing from first place. We saw something very hooking, very engaging with this game, and we thought that with a bit of work, with some tiny changes, we can scale it up really, really fast, and that's what happens. Sam will elaborate about how we scale it, but the fact that we could do it in a very, very fast pace says a lot about the hooking part or the juice part of this game.
So how does that process look like in terms of the, like you said, the speed? So let's say today you find a great game with the great retention and juice in WeChat. How long does it take you to actually transform that into Western like launch?
So in this case, it was like super speed, like in less than 3 months.
Supersonic?
Supersonic, yeah. it definitely meets our values, our name and values. So the speed in this case, especially that this market was, I wouldn't say saturated, but it's definitely had
getting crowded.
Yes, getting crowded. It's a great term.
I would just also add that it's about working with the right partners, and we could give a lot of credits to the studio as well, because they're very fast speed with Supersonic, and they were able to adapt and implement and follow the guidelines that we were giving them in a very efficient and high deliverable way. So that also helps, of course. Depends on who you're working with.
So do I get it right that that's a Chinese studio? Yeah. And therefore, okay, this is the other question on top of it. Were they the ones that like captured the trend and told you like, okay, we should hop on this trend? Or was this some external team initiative that you have, like research team, or like I mean, like who's the one watching the WeChats?
So we have our team in APAC, amazing team that based on Unity Beijing, and they are always looking for new games, popular games. We're not trying to invent from scratch anything. We just like to find the things that most users like, and once we pull it out, we work very fast to scale it high.
Would you say it would be possible even if you wouldn't have a team in APAC, like a Chinese team? Like you would be able to do it from West?
It's much more complicated. We traveled to China several times, to Vietnam. The local team is super important. I would say that the cultural differences and the mindset can be a bit different. So you need to have your team that can speak the same language.
Yeah. It was so important when we went to China, Joe, last year. And then we were talking to the local devs, and my brain was melting after a few hours there. It's just like, it was insane. And you can't get this experience from outside. You just need to be there on the ground.
Indeed. Fully agree.
Okay. So, Jakub, anything regarding the game design?
Yeah, I wanted to ask right here. I'm just super curious. Like, can you talk a bit about the session lengths and how many sessions per day you have? It's like pretty good for this job. Yeah.
I thought it's a start.
I'm asking what the session lengths are, but
yeah,
maybe kind of an out, so you don't actually have to say a real number, but yeah.
So it depends, but we do see plus minus like 3 a day with a good portion of gameplay. It really depends on the stage of the users, if it's in early stage of the game or later stage. But we do see that the sessions are very deep. It means that they watch a lot of rewarded video. They are fully engaged with each session. So we are trying to follow their engagement rather than specific numbers.
Okay. Yeah, could we just go and open up the San Tower Day Live? We are in the what are we talking about?
Yeah,
because then we can, again, like we can blink twice, because we do these reviews and we only have the external data points, and we have some like a feeling of if this is right or wrong.
Sadness multiplier.
Yeah,
we call it sadness multiplier.
So share your feelings with us.
Yeah. And it's like if you go to the actual sessions and then the active users, and then we can check if this is true or not, or at least like what do we think?
Yeah,
Or
it's about
something.
right. It's between 3 to 4 sessions a day, and the sessions, as Guy said, they're pretty deep. So it's a good estimate.
Here comes the first question I have from the admon side. So there's a lot of companies from Vietnam and also maybe Line Studios, I guess, that monetize quite heavily with an interstitial on app open or making it rewarded. What are you guys' thoughts on that? And I'm assuming you must have tested it, right?
Not in this game, I will say, but definitely it's something we tested, the app open interstitial format. I won't say that we saw huge success with it yet. And it's a bit, in a sense, it's a bit aggressive, yeah, because even though it's usually a very fast static image, or it depends on the ad type, it's something that it's at the beginning of a session. And it's one of the most valuable impressions in a way, because the first impression a user is going to see. And so far in our A/B test, I won't say we have a strong opinion about it. And it's definitely not something that we are yet implementing by default in new games, especially in high retention games. Interstitial is something that we're thinking about carefully in regards to how to optimize. First, we want to understand the users, their behavior, to be able to do the best setup and experience for the lowest churn and the maximum LTV we can get.
Yeah, because the main monetization point in this game is the unlock box rewarded placement, correct? It must get at least 70 or 80% of the rewarded ads because it's so prevalent. It's
Indeed.
a hard game. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
It's a hard game, but very forgiving. Like we are not punishing the users. Like we can talk about other meta events that other games are doing, but we're trying not to punish the user. So even when you fail, you can start over, and you have many exits for this failure.
Yeah, like the revive we offer is basically the same as the unlock box. And the unlock box in-game is a very successful placement, is generating above 60% engagement rate. And I think it works really, really well because, it's, first of all, it's the best in-game booster we have by far. And it makes it easier to complete the level faster for the users. It's more dynamic and fun to play. And we actually seen that the sense of mastery in this type of games is something that users, like players, are seeking for. So giving them this opportunity to advance faster and to win at the first try by having all these different RV offers in the level is something that is very successful, especially on Screwmaster.
I played the game, and I've watched a lot of rewarded ads as a result, right? And I can't help noticing that majority of the rewarded ads are on a 30-second length and like 5 to 10-second end card. What's the kind of thinking experimentation around that? Because it's probably one of the hottest topics for publishers, because networks push for 114 second, let's say, right? And then they always say it's the best thing since sliced bread, and then your retention figures tend to disagree.
Right. So I will say that we are not that strict with how long an ad that is showing in our supply should be, let's say. We do see that it's becoming more common on the user acquisition side, let's say, to run longer videos, longer ads, and they do generate like good performance, high ECPMs for the monetization side. But we, on Android specifically, I don't know, like, what did you play, iOS or Android?
iOS.
This is Android.
I played iOS, but this is Android. Yeah.
iOS,
Okay.
yeah.
So I would
Jakub is
say that
Android.
on Android, we are more strict because of all the better ads experience policy. So we are watching out a lot for the timers and the length of the videos in our supply. But on iOS, a bit less. And if you caught exactly 30-second videos and 10-second end cards, it's probably by chance. Because
got
you
lucky.
could also get longer ones. Yeah.
Did you try it with the shorter ones and longer ones? What kind of ECPM degradation did you see as a result?
You mean on our, like on the monetization side?
Yeah.
So we did no, because you need to basically, if you want to A/B test that, it's like a very complex A/B test. It's not a setup that you're doing on our side. It's a setup of the networks, right? And we do always ask the networks to keep certain guidelines in terms of length of ads, especially on interstitials, a bit less on rewarded. But it's not usually always one-to-one. There's always ads that are longer than what you expect because the user doesn't know where to click or how to click it in the right time. So it doesn't matter how long you set the benchmark for, the whole experience is a bit different. We do use ad quality to track the overall length and quality of the ads running in our supply, and to make sure that we minimize churn. And if we see that there are certain creatives that are really causing like a high churn, then we will go and block them, remove them, try to be more strict with their video length, let's say. So ad quality, I think, is the place we go for the analytics behind it. And based on the specific cases we see, we might go and decide to do optimizations around that. But there is not like a set rule if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Wait, do you use that those creatives that are causing high churn to inform your brainstorming sessions, and then use those creative angles to create new creatives?
Okay, we're mixing now. We're saying if I
Yeah,
take,
we're
I know.
UA and
It's
monetization.
not. I know.
Okay, it's a good
It's a
thing that
different.
All over
It's
the
a
place.
different thing.
So
Yes, I'm just.
it will be okay for me. But basically, of course, we take insights, let's say,
Awesome.
from creatives that are running in our supply. We try to understand what's working best, what's taking majority of the impressions, what's trendy beyond just what we can get from a sensor tower, of course. So the creative team, let's say, is connected into the platform of the mediation in the sense of understanding the ads that are running in our game so that they can get inspiration, ideas, trends, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for mixing things.
Yeah.
It's okay.
For those of you listening, just to crystallize this. So level play is one of the biggest advantages with the creative review tool there. It shows churn. So basically you can see what creatives are causing the most churn from your game. So clever UA managers have figured this out.
Exactly. And when I'm talking to the different UA managers like this, like, oh my God, we can do it. It's like, yeah, well, of course you can. You just need to run. Yeah, you just need to use level play and add quality. That's it.
Jakob,
Yes.
do you want to go through the
simple.
numbers maybe? And then I want to ask the rest of my admon questions after that.
Let me finish the product first, because I think that's the
Right.
part that I
We
got
hopped
margin.
around a lot, huh? Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's called discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, come on.
So why I'm still stuck in there in the main menu, that's my question here, like what would be next, or what's the current plan? Because I know there were the theme park mechanic that we were talking before, and then suddenly after I updated the game recently, there are no more. So do I get it right that I have the latest build here, and this is how it's supposed to look like?
Yes, so we are testing. The theme park is definitely a good part of the game, an important part of the game, but we need to remember we are live like more or less 6 months, and we always exploring new ways to improve our product. So we take it in and out and try new stuff and A/B test, and probably you are part of an A/B test right now. So yes, the theme park is there, and we even supposed to take it one step higher and to combine some limited time events on this theme park. Like not only a theme park, it has for example a Christmas wrap or whatever, St. Patrick's wrap. So we are working on it, and yes, you are part of an A/B test right now.
Okay, because I know I saw it, and for those like watching this is basically how it looked like. There was this kind of symbol during the gameplay that would have this
Indeed.
percentage as you fulfill it, and that at the end of the level, again, this is something different, I guess, another variation. Rather than theme parks, this is coming from something like we did the Dreamy Rooms was the game, like that's a similar run. So again, another inspiration, I guess, for some meta progression. But do I get it right that basically what you're doing, you're testing different kind of visual based meta progressions and trying to find out which one sticks the better in the current state? Still didn't figure out the one. Yep.
Indeed. Actually, we want to make sure the players always feel a sense of progression, especially since some level can be longer, as you mentioned earlier. That's why after every level we have a new decoration. It's added to the park. We try to have some kind of a smooth animation that shows the progress. The key is to always give to the player a feedback to their gameplay, some kind of accomplishment, and that's why we have this on the right side and top right side, we have this progression that once you fill it, you can see how it was placed in the theme part or as part of the meta.
Okay. And okay, that sounds right. So my guess is that like at some point somewhere down later down the line, you figure this one out, and that will be the main visual progression. Similarly, like some other games on hybrid casual genre, going really back to something like I don't Hexasword or Block Jam 3D. Like they all did this like unlocking picture and stuff like that. I know it spread like wildfire like 2 years ago. My other question is, what about the event meta? Do you plan to kind of hop on the usual bread and butter tactic that everybody is doing now, which is kind of similar to Royal Match, where you have these very speedy trigger events popping up from left to right, kind of driving the user towards the main progression, like play level base saga at goal cost basic. Then we give you more motivation, track your progress in between with like leaderboards, speed time events, so on and so forth.
So not for now. I have
for now
to be honest. Yeah. Since we have more like ad-oriented model and I think a solid difficulty curve, if you feel it's harder, we can debate about it. So we are, let's say, we are not ignoring it, but we wait with this approach, and maybe for later stage, or we wait for this game to be a bit more mature. The games require some kind of skill and luck elements, so we're trying not to punish the users. And when I play a Royal Match, which is amazing game, I'm always afraid to fail, to lose.
Because of streak mechanics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because of the streak mechanics. And at the moment, we don't want the users to feel that way.
More relaxing experience, basically.
Yes. Although I can accept the levels can be a bit hard. We still want to keep it more relaxing, and maybe in later stage when the game will be more mature, we will take this approach. But at the moment, we prefer to take it solid.
Let's finish the difficulty question, because this is my really one of the biggest questions that I have here is in Screwmaster. When I was looking through the other Screw game, especially once we review Screwdom, like the genre leader with IP revenue, in those games, or let's say in Screwdom, you can click on an object and make it transparent to see screws that are behind it, over it, pretty much like make it somewhere that you put an example here. So what I'm talking about. Yeah, so for instance, these blocks, I don't know what's there, but if I click on the block, I see what's under it or what's hiding, which makes the thing much easier. So
which is very smart, I have to say.
Yeah. So was this a deliberate decision that you followed, that like, for instance, difficulty curve is better this way, or did you tested it, or what's your take on this?
So since it's a Screwmaster is still a new games, we are at the moment focusing on more refining the core, the level design, the APS of each level before we moving forward. We are actually used it for inspiration, the screw through.
Okay.
As an inspiration for some new ideas that we are working at the moment. But for now, we are focusing more on improving the level difficulty to find this sweet spot, and we believe that the see-through can
disrupt it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we prefer not to develop it at the moment. And we are working on some great surprises that are inspired by this great feature.
Yeah, that's great, because I can fully understand that like it could pretty much take the game to the point where your design space to create difficulty gets very limited, and I guess
Indeed.
That's like a giant hammer on the difficulty pretty much. So yeah, I can understand. Thanks. Shall we then move to the numbers then, or Felix, what do you want to do?
Yeah, numbers, and then add questions.
Yeah.
Add questions.
So, what daily active users, your favorite metric?
Let's look at downloads first, and the IAP revenue, right? And then just to get an idea.
So downloads are stable somewhere 40K a day. Again, as multiplier applies.
I think so. But then
Here's the
US,
with
yeah.
US being first, so pretty good traffic. And
Then-
then revenue-wise, again, this is only IP. We don't see ad one
which
stabilized.
then that's the question, like what's the actual revenue split?
The
Then
ratio.
The revenue
ratio.
split here, it must
Yeah.
be 80 or 90%
I would-
ads because
yes.
you watch so many rewarded ads in this game.
Yeah. That was my assumption as well. Based on the active user base as well. I mean, come on. It has to be.
100K.
Yeah.
We can confirm that it's a very heavy IAA game. There is
Okay.
no doubt around that, but it still generates some in-app purchases, and we're still, as Guy said, on the very early stages. So there may be changes that we see going forward, also regarding that.
Then
In
if
fact,
you
the
go,
most popular IP products are like the skip its and the boosters, and it says a lot about the fact that the main focus on this game is like on rewarded videos. They watch, the users watch dozens a day.
okay. So if you go to actual retention profile, if you have one, then we can then compare the notes, because you released some numbers which says, well, I have it here, day one retention is 45%, but then there's day 30, which is 15%. And then like it's also, let's see what sensor.
Those are US numbers or global, or what was the? I can.
US.
US, okay.
Well,
This
we
is
have,
US.
yeah, we have US iOS. We have 11% day 30, which is okay. So we have 15%. And then I would say day 90 should be also quite strong. We have 4 here, but what I would say, well, like 6, 7 at least.
Yeah, definitely. We like this is I think what makes Screwmaster in our eyes at least a hybrid game. Like the way we're looking at a hybrid game is not necessarily it has X% IAP revenue, but
Okay.
it's mostly about the stickiness of the users, how long they can play this game for, and the deepness that we can go in it. And Screwmaster has like pretty good benchmarks, I think, for the world of hybrid casual when it comes to retention. We do see around like between 5 to 7% average, let's say, on day 90. And I think the sustained engagement that we generate in this game is what leads us to keep it at a high scale for such a long period of time. And it's like, it's what we're looking for, you know, the revenue comes with it. The moment you have like a good strategy on ad monetization, and with time, we can also optimize further towards heavier IAP. If this is what we are aiming for, you know, it's all a matter of like building the right game with the right potential.
Yeah. Well, that was my question next. Like, okay, well, can you imagine if you flip the 80-20 to 50-50? This can generate such a high amount of IIPs, which, I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously. And I'm the UA guy, so I think it's easy.
Yeah.
So my question there is just like with those insane retention numbers, right? You do monetize with interstitials. Interstitials absolutely destroy retention, but you still have quite a lot of them. How do you balance that?
So I think in Supersonic, like the way we're looking at the ads optimization, we call it like full screen ads. It's a combination of both interstitials and RVs. But you're totally right that interstitials usually have like a negative correlation to retention, let's say, and it's something that doesn't go hand in hand. We are trying to first, as I said, understand the user experience, you know, see how they're playing, what they like, how they engage, how often they're watching an RV, at understanding when they get hooked to the game before we add interstitials into the pie. And the way that we are A/B testing interstitials is a lot softer, I would say, than the usual IAA games. So here it's on clean interval when it feels like a very natural pause for the users in the game in between levels. And it doesn't seem disruptive, let's say. And we know like interstitials in a way, even though it is negative towards retention, if balanced well, is actually something that we're looking at as like a pressure point even to convert users into IEP, right? And I think that's one of the beauties of what the hybrid market in general is showing to the industry, is that if you do it in the right way, you will minimize the impact to retention, but you also push those high quality users to make their first deposit, even if it won't be a high value deposit, because it's very common if you think about it to pay so you don't have an ads experience in many different platforms, right? Even outside gaming. And interstitials is that sort of like mindset for the gaming world where you have the option to play in a more premium environment if you make a payment to remove ads and or buy skip its or other formats that you have that are like lower costs. And it gives you as a studio, let's say, a very early signal into who are my high quality potential paying users from a very beginning stage, because those will convert, they convert fast.
Okay, that's super interesting. So how do you control the cooldown timers, and how do you kind of segment the user base on the back of that?
How do we control the cooldown? You mean like what technology?
Do you control it, or does everyone have the same ad
I guess
experience? Or
what Felix is asking, like, how do you do your segmentation if you have any, meaning that you don't repeal the payers by interstitials too soon, rather kind of move it somewhere there later until they manifest, and then split it into these guys going to get interstitials, these guys not, because those are pairs, or any kind of similar system.
Jacob, I would just say you speak very fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's
Welcome to 2.5 Gamers.
We're like in Israel. It's just take that into account.
so much knowledge, no time for slow speaking.
Welcome to 2.5 Gamers. This is every time.
Words and get an answer for you. How do we do it? So, like, first of all, as I said, we don't do it from the get-go. We first of all run clean of interstitials on the beginning because of the sensitivity of it. We understand the KPIs and the players' journey throughout the game, let's say. Once we feel like we understand our players, that's when we'll start thinking and brainstorming about different setups for interstitials, different triggers, intervals. We're usually A/B testing. We don't have something that we go live with without having, first of all, an A/B test. And the A/B test takes into account, like we have pretty sophisticated like A/B testing systems in Supersonic, even from back in the hyper casual times. And we are looking at all of those KPIs. So we're taking into account depositors rate, we're taking into account total, RPPU, we're taking into account total LTV, trying to understand the best group and to do it for a long enough period of time that is what we validate as a good statistical significance for us to go live with. So again, it's like it's a matter of optimization, I think, and the main points that we optimize is usually pacing, placements, triggers, these sort of things, and try to set something that is a bit more standard. Usually users that will have a high engagement with RV have like a longer grace period for interstitials because the timer or the way we're looking at it is kind of connected, as I said, as a full screen experience. So in games like Screwmaster, where you have such a high engagement rate from rewarded ads, you're usually naturally not seeing a lot of interstitials, even if we have this sort of interstitial setup, because the intervals, they take into account any sort of a full screen ad. So it makes the RV engaged players have a more premium experience and still lets us monetize for those that don't. And
Okay,
as I
very
said,
interesting.
players, usually this is happening pretty quickly. Yeah, like the FTDs, the first time deposit happens like at a very early stage in the game. So we are already able to understand who are the payers. And what I said about pressure points of interstitials is for those that didn't do that on the usual early stage, we still push them to do it at later stages by having these commercial breaks.
Very cool. So I guess that's a really good segment for my ad revenue estimate here. So I think that you guys are generating anywhere between 8 to 8.5 rewarded ads on 65% of the user base, along with 5 interstitials on 75% of the user base. And according to my estimates,
65% you're saying?
yeah, on rewarded and 75 on interstitial. So 8 rewarded ads and 5 interstitial ads, meaning that you're generating anywhere between 40 to 50K a day right now from ads.
I
Yeah,
can tell
that's
that's
not
too
right.
low. That's too low. It's like I can tell by the look it sounds like
Honestly, yeah.
No.
Like I'll say that, like, yeah. First of all, yes, it's wrong. It's very low. It's a lot higher than that. Even in the DAO sense, the amount of impressions we're showing is way higher than what you're saying. But think about it that in a good game, not a great game like Screw, usually you're getting a 40% engagement rate. Yeah. So in these
Yeah.
type of games where you're heavily dependent on RV, it's part of your progression in a way, then it's mostly speaking to almost all of the users. Like the engagement rate is very, very, very high.
Interesting.
So it's like 85 to 90%.
Plus, yeah, 80 plus.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Wow.
So my estimate, Felix, would be anywhere between 80K to 100 at least per day.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
on the
90%
high
brings it up to
end.
75. So
That's on high. That's on high. Okay.
I have a
No,
really
I mean
interesting
like it's
question.
on the high end of what you're saying. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like I won't say the
Nice.
exact
All right.
number, but it's
Sure.
definitely towards that high
So-
end.
Nice.
Here comes a really interesting question
Felix
on the back
said
of
this
that, right?
multiplier.
Yes, Felix
so,
said
yeah,
it's multiplier.
Yeah.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But here comes a really interesting question. So if you have that high rewarded ads, the imp DAO, right? One of the main things that happens is that you have eCPM degradation because of the recency effect. Like networks pay less for subsequent impressions than they do the first ones. What are some strategies that you guys use to kind of keep the eCPMs high when you have such a high imp DAO?
So it's a great question. But yeah, so first of all, I would say that you're totally right. Like this wear out of the eCPMs or the degradation of the eCPMs is something that is quite painful when you have like a game that is so highly engaging with ads. But it is what happens. And I think that the way we are optimizing it is through different sort of optimizations. One thing that we have in the back end, let's say that it's not something that you see, is that sometimes we're swapping between RV and interstitial impressions. So even though you as a player requested to watch an ad for an RV, we might be showing you an interstitial ad, which might feel to you like a faster RV experience in a way, the 30 seconds timer that you mentioned before. Because the first impression of interstitial sometimes generates better performance. So we have some like sophisticated models behind the scenes that are trying to optimize towards the higher payer, either if it will be an interstitial ad or an RV ad, but for the placement that is RV in the game. And that helps us squeeze the best eCPMs out of every impression, let's say. And in addition to that, we also have, of course, what the industry has, as a benchmark, which is capping mechanism. So we are optimizing around how many impressions to show users on each of the placements, especially the placements, like we mentioned before, that are top engaging placements. Usually you want to generate the highest engagement rate that you can, because that means the first impression of a unique user, and that every single unique user is very valuable. But once you're already squeezing that placement into 15 plus impressions, you sometimes prefer to cap it. So you keep the experience a bit more premium in a way. You give users that also that like nudge to go towards maybe an IAP direction rather than just ads. But the important, I think, thinking behind the capping is just to make sure that the users don't feel like they're being punished, that it feels a bit more natural and not like something negative or a penalty in a way that you're capping these sort of rewards. Because as Guy mentioned as well, we want to give the players like this, what's the word you used for it? It was a very nice word. I forgot now.
Giving approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, this like easy experience, or give them the chance to pass the level, and not have that difficulty too high. So basically, yeah. So we want to give them the ways to crack the level to feel like it's easier, faster, but we also want to cap the rewards to make sure that we are keeping some sort of like premium CPMs for any advertiser that is buying out of Screwmaster.
And you never hide the unlock box rewarded placement, right? That's that would make it too hard. Have you had any luck experimenting with the really cool feature on Level Play with the where you do ad units and where you can optimize on that, and you do setting up bid floors and you send basically different requests to different ad units?
You mean like what legacy wise is called like a waterfall by placement or multiple?
No, so essentially it's a really cool feature where you send the first couple of impressions to one ad unit, and then on the back of whatever ECPM floor you saw for the user there, you then send it to ECPM buckets where you have bid floors that artificially keep the bid high.
Yeah, sorry. So basically having multiple waterfalls, you're saying?
Bid units, essentially, yeah.
Yes. So we are testing that. I would say it's like a relative, like if it is the feature I'm understanding, and maybe I misunderstood it still, but like if it is the feature I'm understanding, it's a relatively new feature in Level Play, and we're definitely testing it to try. The idea behind it is pretty similar than what I said before between ECPMs of interstitials and RV. Here is just about setting the floor. Today with bidders, the problem is that if you set a floor and you don't have multiple waterfalls, then this is true for everyone. And then it kills your revenue a little bit. So by having the multiple waterfall setups and getting like competition to be tougher in a way, it helps us raise the bids we're getting, the CPMs we're getting, and the overall outcome. But it's still something that we are testing. Yeah, like I can't say that it's something that we're fully live with because it's relatively new.
Yeah. Final question before we move on to UA. Skip it. How did you guys test that? How did you decide on it? It's a very hot topic.
It's a hot topic and it's an old topic, I think. No,
Yeah.
Nobody figured out the solution yet. I guess
we'll make it as a hot topic for today. So skip it. They kind of became like, in our eyes at least, the standard, in hyper casual, and especially in high RV engaged hyper casual games or hybrid casual space in this case. In my opinion, is just like a recognition of the value of rewarded ads and what we are offering. And especially in games that have a high engagement rate, think that skip it help us also save that, how did you call it, degradation or something like that,
ECPM
of the
degradation.
CPMs, because instead of having another ad, you just this time skip it, right? So users who love the game, but they don't want to spend too much time watching the ads, and like they would just buy these packages of skip its. It's usually part of like most offers we have in the store. And the mindset behind it, it's almost like a subscription model. You buy a set number of skip its, you have like a X amount of playtime potentially that you can do without having to watch ads, just skipping it. It's a better experience. It gives the users a taste of what it is to be premium. We all like the free trial periods, let's say. So it's something around that in terms of like, I think of how it works and how it speaks to players. But, Screwmaster, to be honest with you, we're just like going with skip its from the get-go. So it's not like we did crazy sophisticated testing behind it. Because for this type of offer, we do see it's a pretty standard thing for us today, and it works. And now that I would say the economy becomes a bit more complex once you add skip its. So we are trying to fully analyze it and understand how we can make it better in the sense of like more like well fit and integrated to the overall economy of the game, and how to evolve potentially from it, maybe gems and not skip it, maybe a different currency that goes more like that speaks broader to the game. But it's still something that we are working on, let's say.
Sam, while you are talking, Jacob watched another rewarded video in order to...
We appreciate your money.
Yeah. So do I get it right that you consider it pretty much as a part of a normal feature set for heavy ad-driven games? So
Yes.
that's why you didn't like hesitate or like A/B test, because I know we talked with this about multiple hybrid hyper casual publishers, and they were kind of on the fence. Like in this game it worked for us, this game doesn't work for us, yada yada yada. So I guess it's like works for ad-driven games. Period.
So for the games that are very high engagement, a ton of impressions a day, like impressions per DAO a day, I think it has a huge value. Usually we don't see, like we tested it enough, in the past, I mean, and we had games that had these sort of KPIs before. So we usually see it's a positive result,
Influence.
like a positive lift to the LTV. And it can also help generate purchases, right? Usually. So it's like a win-win. And we just went live with it. Now there is a thinking behind the economy of Skip It, like it's not like we go live with any sort of setup.
Yeah.
It's not something that we are, besides for the economy, I feel like it's something that it became pretty standard for us.
Let's go to UA because Jakub is stuck.
Nice. Jakub is stuck. Jakub is stuck. You can watch another unlock box. That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So, well, we always talk about the UA of kind of, let's call it, hybrid casual games, and it's changing quite a lot. And I mean, I'm pulling out like the May 2025, which is now when we are recording, but I'm pretty sure like the UA channel mix changed quite a lot since the launch until now. So what was the like kind of initial UA channel mix or the strategy when you were launching the game?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically we have some sort of like a standard in Supersonic, which is usually starting with big channels that we collaborate with. So on the beginning of a launch, I would say we're opening about 4 different channels: Google, Facebook, ironSource, and Unity.
Okay.
And that was also the case for Screwmaster. We launched the campaigns in these channels. Some of these channels and some of the campaigns we use, they require some data and signals before we are able to open up, like VO and such. So we wait a little bit with it, but these are the channels that we are starting with. And then after we have a little bit of a better understanding of ROAS across different channels, then we are starting to open the rest, because we work with a lot of channels.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I like see basically everything in Sensor Tower, and I'm pretty sure like there's more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically that's how we are launching it. And for Screwmaster specifically, I would just say that one of the unique things we saw, even though, like Supersonic, ironSource is like a family, but we don't usually see that what we saw in Screw, which is basically ironSource scaled, like we opened budgets in ironSource and it scaled like super aggressively. Like we managed to increase our spend like week over week from like much lower numbers to like 50, 60K daily spend just on ironSource. Nice. Without damaging the ROAS. And one of the signals that we are always looking for when we're launching is capping, how fast we are capping on our campaigns. That's always like a good sign for us if we're capping quickly and we have to open up budgets. So here we just went very high because we saw that the cap was happening very often.
Yeah.
And it exploded. And it was like pretty insane because we haven't seen that since like, very back in the days, hyper casual times, let's say. And that gave us the understanding that this game is going to be very big and very good for us.
Yeah, nice. So, and then, wait a second, let me check if you are, so you mentioned VO. Okay, I don't see TikTok here, so I guess you're not running anything on TikTok.
Oh, we are.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that in these, we love Sensor Tower, we work with them, but I wouldn't say in these dashboards they have the most
again, sentence, yes.
Yeah, so
I'm also looking into
impressions. It will always be Mintegral.
Yeah, I see like Mintegral all over the place, and Unity and a little bit of YouTube, but I guess like the current UA channel mix is different for you.
Yeah, no, we're running with TikTok, and
Okay,
we're
nice.
running with like basically all of the different partners, also incentive channels. Yeah.
Nice. So then what's the percentage of the budget going into different channels? Do you have like one big ones, or like the four that you mentioned are the big ones and then the rest is just kind of there just in case?
Also, there are some big ones that are also not in the four that we start with. The four that we start with is just the ones that we set as good launch partners, let's say.
Okay.
So the distribution is different. It depends if you're looking at iOS or Android, first of all.
Yeah,
And
okay.
and I would say that usually we do tend to see like 3 channels that are dominating, and then the rest competing with
Okay.
each other for the rest of the budget, let's say. But usually there's about 3, maybe sometimes 4 that are very, very strong in a game. And it's also the same thing for Screwmaster.
Okay, and I guess you're optimizing mainly for AdROAS rather than just anything
Yeah,
blended.
today, like,
Yeah.
well, no, we use blended campaigns as
Okay.
well. Why not? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
mean,
it's not it's not
sure.
like gonna damage anything. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
give us the additional lift that the IEP revenue has, and we do want that to be a signal that we buy from. So whatever we do have hybrid or blended options, we are using that. And where we don't have, we're using separate campaigns like VOIA on Facebook and
Yeah.
VOIP, right? So we are
Yeah.
optimizing for both. Still, we have enough IEP signals for that, for the IEP campaigns,
Okay.
but we're trying to get all the revenue users type that we can
Yeah,
get.
of course. And I see obviously like based on the channel mix, you have the videos and playables. But I guess still for this type of game, I mean, the playable is always like better kind of format because you can play, you can get the feeling and kind of qualify users basically.
Yeah. So to be honest, like you're right. Like I don't have much to say. It's true. The
We use
playable is the
Allocation.
better
It's
ad
an audition.
format. It's what we're seeing basically with playables is that it generates like higher engagement in terms of the users that we buy. Like they stay for longer, they have better retention. Playables usually are not scale oriented in a way. Yeah, like they're more like the IPMs, the best IPMs we're usually getting from videos, but the best performance overall, especially for games like that, is coming actually mostly from playables.
Okay.
And I think that it was for us, at least, I won't speak for everyone, but also from our partners in Google, they said that this is very unique, that to see that playable standalone is something that was taking most of our spend also on Google, which is not something
No way. Okay, so
yeah.
you are actually the second company that were able to say they can get scale on playables on Google. Seriously.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
So I thought we were the first. No, but our
Wow,
partners
okay.
on Google also said that this is not something that they are usually seeing, but yeah, it happened. Like we had a very good playable that we created based on a video, and it just took scale over all channels, basically,
Okay.
not just SDKs, which is usually what you expect.
So in that case, like how do you approach the creative testing, and then how often you refresh creatives at that as this scale? Because you mentioned 50-60K per day. I'm pretty sure like you are somewhere plus or minus still, maybe a little bit more when you said that you have 100K per day, kind of. I mean, not saying you said that, but alluded that it might be in that range. Kind of assuming it's either you spend anywhere between 80K or even maybe if you kind of optimize for, let's say, 90-day payback period or more, you spend even more than 100K. But I mean, that's a different part of the question. Let's get back to the
Right.
the original question.
So we spend a lot and enough,
Yeah.
let's say, for this game
Yeah,
to
okay.
succeed and to reach the best ROI we can. But the way we are like, first of all, we have like a very big team in Supersonic, like a very big creative department,
Okay.
to be honest. And the way we are working around hybrid games is a little bit different than the way we used to produce for hyper casual. Like where in hyper casual, it's all about, quantity and scale. And in hybrid, it's a bit more about post install metrics, performance. And, if you have a scale from a video that is very good, but the quality is really low, then you won't keep going with that, right? So you need to iterate. So on the very early stages of testing a new game, we're trying everything, basically levels, color, gameplay moments, trying to stay true to what's actually the game experience that players will get in those early stages, understanding the motivations that users are looking for, which I said in Screwmaster, it's like a sense of a mastery, relaxation, progress. This is what's working for us. Afterwards, once we understand what we want, what elements from that we want in our creatives, that's when we are iterating. Like we, of course, do a lot of market research. We're looking at quality, sensor tower, trying to understand the trends within the screwing genre, let's say.
Yeah.
Understanding what works, what's picking up, and trying to add those sort of like hooks into our creatives to sustain like a good CPI, keep scale going. And, basically we are producing, I would say, quite a lot of video and playable iterations, and some percentage of the time also trying new, completely out of the box concepts. But what we see works best is mostly like going with the trends, iterating on what's working, a video that is working really well, just doing like voiceover on top of it, doing UGC style together with the video or the playable, and trying to take the best videos and make a playable out of it, or the other way around. So we are like trying to maximize on what we see is working after we are at scale, and a little bit also explore new things until we find some new concepts that might be good and work as well. But it's harder to generate success from new concepts, I would say.
So how many new creatives do you produce a week?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume.
Numbers, so I don't want to say a number, to be honest.
Don't worry. I would expect at least 20 to 30, which is like the bare minimum. And what you just, I mean, I'm playing, while you were talking, I'm playing like, I think 6th playable, which is completely different concept. So that's quite a lot, which is amazing.
Like different levels, you mean, right?
Yeah, completely different. Yeah, different playable. Yeah, like this is a video, but still, I'm pretty sure like this is eventually a playable as well. Because this is again like a new playable, which is quite unique concept.
Unplayable is also one of the things that we are always, of course, looking into. It's like the longer experience, right? Like the number of taps, how long will like players need to engage with this playable until they're sent to the store. And as I mentioned before, like the IPMs usually that we are seeing, at least, I don't know that this is true for all of the industry, but at the moment on Screw specifically, we see that playables generate lower IPM, although better quality, and they dominate scale, right? Like they are still taking most of the spend. So we understood also like that there is a lot of optimizations you can do around just the number of taps, or how we call it like a endless playable experience, to get the users to really hook.
That's what I'm just doing now. Yeah, it's like I can tap and just play forever.
Jacob would have finished it by now. I would just say that.
Probably yes.
But yeah, so we're trying to do this very long experience where you don't even remember you're playing an ad anymore, and you really want to just keep going, and that's usually also generating very good quality users that do come to the game already understanding what they're getting.
Yeah, because I think we had this discussion with some of our friends that they said, look, like longer playables basically work way better for them because, again, like you said, you qualify users and you can play until forever. But then there's the other opinions like, oh, well, but then players just will play the playable and then they will just churn and then they don't care about it anymore. But do you see better performance for longer versus shorter playables?
So it depends. Like I would say in terms of posting stall metrics, we see good performance with long playables. Yeah, good like retention, good long-term KPIs, but it's not the only thing you're looking for also, right? So the shorter playables experience, they're more, I guess, catchy in a way and have higher chances of converting. And then it's a balance between both, like as long as you're keeping it true to the gameplay and you don't completely crash your ROAS, should be both of them should be like a best practice, testing it. And each channel also, UA channel, I mean, may bring different performance. We do see, by the way, connecting it to the monetization, let's say that the longer ads, they don't run it necessarily on the same supply as the shorter ads. So it might be that also by having this variety of longer playables, longer videos versus very short videos, very short playables, reaches different type of apps, right? Like supply sources. And then we are kind of like growing the incrementality of what we can get because they're not cannibalizing each other or competing with each other, even within the same UA channel. So yeah.
Yeah, because when I always talk about the creative depth or like the number of concepts you have, like you need to diversify. Like you have static images, videos, playables, but then this is another level. You have shorter playables, longer playables. It's the same thing with the length of the videos. You have 30-second videos, and I saw 1 minute, 30-second long videos. Again, so many different options just to get better scale. And
Google, you have the bumper ads, like 5-second videos. So it goes all the way.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So you said you have all like the big team on the creative side, which is amazing. A lot of the different people don't have that. So but you have so many different concepts. Like, how do you then test them, like on different channels? Maybe let's say, how do you test them on the biggest channel you have?
Yeah. So we have like a pretty set testing process, I would say, that initially is happening on Facebook. Yeah. Like this is our main test platform, I would say, for creatives, because we just upload a batch of like a few and we can compare the best performing ones quite fast with low budgets. But in general, for hybrid games, I would say Facebook can't always be the best representation. It depends on the scale that it is on the game. So we are also testing if we truly believe in a concept and it's a high production, let's say, concept in our side, we might test it directly also on the main campaigns.
Okay.
Lower quantity, I would say, and just to understand if this is something that can work or can't. The only trick side of it is that some channels may take a while to give a chance to new creatives. So it takes time, but if we did a high effort in the production of it, we will still give it the chance,
Yeah. Do you also force it in that case just to get impressions? Because, well, obviously, like there's a high chance of all the kind of gaming studios have tons of creatives, but then you have 5 winners. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's pretty hard to kind of give the chance to the new concepts. And then if you have a big creative team, they are going to be very, not angry, but sad that they're doing all the work, but they're not getting enough feedback.
Right. So I will say that because we are one unit, right, growth and creatives, and we're pretty aligned, we are also collaborating a lot on what do we need and for what channel do we need it. So we don't just produce and have no space to test it, because test needs time sometimes, and there's nothing we can do because not every channel allows us to push impressions into a certain creative. And it doesn't always make sense to make a dedicated campaign that will compete. So it depends. But I would say that we are usually syncing with them, like UA managers and creative producers, to let them know like what channel needs the most focus, that we haven't seen like some that is starting to get a fatigue, let's say, and we want to develop something for that specific channel. And then the creative team will build something that it's also more focused on where we need, right? Because also different UA channels have different sort of a creative strategy trends.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm playing all the videos on the back, and it's so many of them. And this is Facebook.
The dog one was amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's just it's perfect. So I mean, you said like you are getting all inspiration from all the like competitors, what's trending, and sensor type or whatever else, and ad quality as well. Okay, I
I'll
love it.
say that I can add a little bit. I don't know how much more we're talking about it, but I would just add that we are, even though we are a big team of creative in Supersonic, we are also really like into AI and
Oh, tell me more.
exploring all the different companies basically that are out there. There's quite a few like that are offering pretty interesting products and making it like really much easier or better for the creative team to be able to generate more with less effort, you know, and to like optimize around like winning creatives in a more efficient way. So yeah, so we are also like very much into that and trying to do as much as we can with the help of AI, because we think that for the creatives world at least, it's something that it's really there already today, like that can be very much maximized.
Yeah, I saw.
We're also very into AI
Yeah,
here.
we are also into AI. I saw you're working with Pool Day for sure, because I saw like the face, the whole avatars. Well, I work with them as well. And the question is like, do you see if you slap a UGC on top of the gameplay videos you have, you see better metrics, or it's just like, I mean, it depends, because what I've seen is just you slap a face or a UGC on top of this kind of like, let's call it hyper casual visual style, it drives higher CPIs.
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so I would say that Pool Day specifically, it's something that we started testing and maybe like I would say like maybe 2-3 months ago. Like
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
a very a long time in Supersonic, but it's definitely like UGC is something that we were doing before with
Okay.
like real production, like
Okay.
actors that were like doing these sort of like videos for us, and you know we had like collaborations around that, but it took a lot of effort. And the beauty, let's say, with Pool Day is that it's just like, you know, like very, very easy and you can make a lot of them. And it looks real in a way. Like you don't always see that there is like some delays between the person speaking and the voiceover, but it's like working for Supersonic at the early stages. I won't say that there's something huge that we saw from it, but we do manage to generate scale with a normal performance. It's just we haven't yet seen like something that it's very sustainable yet with the creatives we had. There's like a peak and then it will go down relatively fast. But I will say that in the games that we are testing, which some of them are also hyper casual, we haven't seen necessarily only high CPIs. So we did see some wins and scalable productions of a Pool Day that worked for us.
Nice.
And also in Screwmaster, yeah. Just not sustainable yet.
Yeah, I mean, we use yeah. I mean, well, you always save. Maybe. Oh, we'll see.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't. That's the motivation. Like save the puppy. No, I mean, this is amazing. I think the only, I mean, not the question is just comment which I had and was kind of part of that long question regarding the creative testing was like the level of spend. So I would say you're kind of optimizing for that like day 90, maybe even longer, because your retention is really strong. So I would say, well, like day 90, day 120, maybe 180 at some point, which then unlocks quite enormous spend. So I mean, that's just my comment and just way of thinking, which then is an interesting exercise for you, just how to add new channels into the UA channel mix on a monthly basis, which can be quite hard. So how do you decide like what kind of channels do you add?
Yeah.
Or
so
just it's all of them?
So no. So of course not. Like I wish it could be all of them, like just to see what works best, right? But like there is cannibalization between channels, right? There's something that it's not like easy to control, and we see it a lot between incentive channels, let's say in some channels on Android. But in the end of the day, what we're looking for when we are adding a new channel into a game is performance, right? So if it's generating a really good performance and it's scale, like allowing us to scale, like, because if it's a good performance, we'll keep opening budgets until we see, that it starts hurting performance. So we would just keep on optimizing based on that and give the best channels according to the different games the chance to succeed. We don't have we're not collaborating with every single channel out there in the industry, but
Not
we
yet.
are exploring a lot of new channels this year specifically, and testing incrementality in our side to understand better how each one works and the influx of new users that they're actually bringing instead of just cannibalization. Yeah, so we are testing that. We have a marketing, like an analyst science team that is also helping us with all of that, and hybrid games or high retention games. That's why I said this year we are focusing on new channels a lot more, just because there's different types of channels that could work now for us that maybe on the hyper casual classic games weren't really relevant, right? But once you have a good retention game, there's other channels that become more relevant. So that's what we are trying to explore and find who are the best partners for us.
Okay, well, I think I ran out of questions. I mean, this is
Great
awesome.
episode. This
is
is
awesome.
Really good. Thank you so much for sharing all these really valuable insight. This was one of the better ones. This is really valuable. Thank you so much.
Anything else you want to share with the audience?
I'll say also, I'm very open here, but you're blurred.
Yeah,
Felix,
we're not like that. It won't. Don't worry.
Like
I'll
your
upload it in a
background
higher.
is including you.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we stop talking
into the hedge with his estimate.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as we start talking about UA, it's like I'm just go away.
Fade out.
Well, now anything you want to share with the audience? I mean, obviously we will add all your contacts into the
said message. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's just because why you're reading the same name for me,
Oh yeah, it's Matei for Felix as well. I'm not sure. Like he does this on purpose always.
Yeah, it's on purpose. It's funny.
I want to say two small things. One, I want to encourage everyone to play the game and share their feedback. We are doing games for users, so we are looking forward to get as many comments and ways to improve the game, because this is what we're doing. This is what we like to do. And second, I'm going back to the beginning of the conversation about WeChat. Every time, here's the park.
Yeah, just in the meantime, I wanted to tell you I'll unlock it, so we just moved there with the capybara here in the bath.
Yeah, so every time that I'm traveling to China and Vietnam and exploring a platform like WeChat, it makes me be more humble. And I think that we all understand that there are many ways to make games and not only one. And this is one more thing that I wanted to share about our philosophy. Like there are many ways. We just need to be humble and look for new ways to do this.
That's very good. Sam, anything on your end except the winking on the budget estimates? It's been yeah. Yeah, if you want to share something with the audience, you share. Yeah, quite a lot. I mean,
yeah. We didn't expect that we get it.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Thank you. It was, as guys said, we love what we're doing. It's like really fun working in the industry. There's always like new things, new challenges. AI is coming out, so things are always like you got to keep yourself updated. I think this channel that you guys have, it's like a great place to like learn, grow knowledge, connect between people in the industry. Like we know here, like a lot of people are like listening to you guys, and we are all watching your deconstruction of games, and it's really valuable. So thank you for that. And and we're happy to join. It's like it's a pleasure. We feel like stars now that we've been here.
Definitely stars. You're definitely stars. That's for sure.
Well, dropping knowledge, it's always the headline of this podcast, which is amazing. So thank you very much for coming. And also listeners, thank you very much also for listening. This was a longer one, but full of insights. Thank you. Join the Slack channel if you have anything to us, being Guy and Sam, and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.